let's kick off another deep dive. Today we're going to learn like the best of the best. Like seriously, top tier folks.
Titans of industry, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And to guide us, we've got Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans. He's interviewed everyone from billionaires to, like world-class athletes.
It's a goldmine of insights, for sure.
It is. So our mission, we're going to uncover some of those maybe surprising, definitely actionable techniques that anyone can use to learn anything better.
Because let's be real, we all want to level up, right?
Right. And who knows, maybe this deep dive is your first step to like building your own empire.
You never know. But it's funny, we tend to put these titans up on a pedestal. We think, oh, they're methods, they're out of reach. But honestly, what Ferriss reveals is that a lot of their approaches to learning are actually incredibly practical.
Absolutely. It's not like magic, right?
No, not at all.
It's more about strategy and mindset.
Exactly.
And speaking of mindset, let's talk about fear of failure.
Right.
That's something we've all struggled with, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's a huge roadblock for a lot of people.
Yeah, you hesitate to dive into something new because you're like, I don't want to mess this up.
Yeah.
So Ferriss, he goes right at this, head on, with his fear setting exercise. Have you ever tried this?
It's really brilliant, actually, because it's not about pretending that fear doesn't exist.
Right.
It's about like dissecting it, understanding it, and then making a plan.
A plan of attack.
Yes. And it's just a 3-page exercise. And the first page, it's all about confronting your fear directly.
Okay, so on page 1, you write down like all your fears about whatever it is you want to learn.
Right. And you get specific.
Specific. Like what's the absolute worst case scenario?
Yeah, if you actually went for it, just let all those anxieties like flow out.
Get it all out on paper.
Then, page 2. You brainstorm ways to prevent those worst-case scenarios from happening.
Okay.
Or if they do happen, how would you minimize the damage?
Mitigate.
Yes. And a lot of times, just creating a plan, that takes away a lot of the fear's power.
Right, because it's the unknown.
The unknown, yeah.
That's scary.
Exactly. But once you start, breaking it down and thinking about potential solutions, it's like, okay, this feels a lot more manageable.
So true. All right, so page 3. This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, page 3 is where you kind of flip the script.
Flip the script.
And think about the cost of inaction. What happens if you let fear win?
Ooh, good question.
Right. Like, what opportunities are you maybe missing out on because you didn't go for it?
Yeah.
And sometimes that potential loss, that's way scarier than the fear itself.
It puts things in perspective, right?
Totally. And I think what makes this exercise so effective is that it forces you to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You can't just pretend those fears aren't there.
You have to face them.
Yeah. And that confrontation, that's where the growth happens. It's about moving from being stuck to feeling empowered.
Okay, so you've tackled your fear. Now what? How do these titans, these super achievers, actually approach learning something new? Do they like have a secret formula?
Well, one thing that comes up a lot in Ferriss's interviews, it's the emphasis on learning by doing.
Okay, so not just reading a book.
No, it's not enough to just passively take in information. You got to actually apply it.
Put it in a product way.
Exactly. And one strategy that really illustrates this, it's called the 5-5-5 rule.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So it's actually pretty simple. First, you identify 5 people who are at the top of their game in whatever field you're interested in, like the absolute rock stars.
Okay, so 5 titans.
Yeah, and then you dive into their work, their interviews, biographies, anything you can get your hands on.
Research.
Yeah, and try to figure out their 5 most crucial habits or routines. And finally, you commit to incorporating those habits into your own life, even if just for 5 days.
So you're saying to learn like a titan, find 5 titans and just copy what they do.
Essentially, yeah. It's like a crash course in mentorship.
Oh, I like that.
You're fast-tracking your learning by, borrowing the best practices from people who have already achieved what you want to achieve.
That takes the guesswork out of it.
Right.
You're not just, wandering around in the dark hoping to figure it out.
Exactly. And the beauty of this is that it can be adapted to any field. Like, whether you're an entrepreneur, an artist, an athlete, whatever, there are always masters to learn from.
That's so true. It reminds me of another concept that Ferriss talks about, deconstructing skills. He talks about breaking down complex subjects into smaller, more manageable steps.
Absolutely. And it's not just about copying the steps.
Right.
It's about understanding, the underlying principles, the strategy.
Yeah.
For instance, Ferriss is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He got there by meticulously analyzing the techniques of top instructors.
Oh, yeah.
Breaking down their complex moves into chunks.
So it's like saying, okay, This expert makes this super difficult move look effortless. But what are the individual components, and how can I break it down into something I can actually practice?
Exactly. And, it's not about being perfect right away. It's about making those small, consistent improvements over time.
Because even the most, like, accomplished people,
Oh, yeah.
they were beginners once.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's easy to get intimidated when you look at someone who's, like, at the top of their game and think, well, I'll never be that good.
Yeah.
But what we're learning here is that it's all about the
A
process.
process, yeah.
And it's about showing up every day, putting in the work, and making those, like, little gains over time.
And that's a really empowering message. It means expertise isn't like this mystical, unattainable thing.
Yeah.
It's the result of dedication, strategy, and a willingness to learn from others who've been there.
Okay, so we've tackled fear. We've got our Titan mentors. We're breaking down skills into, like, bite-sized pieces. But the real world,
Yeah.
it's information overload. How do we even know where to start?
That's such a good point.
How do you not get lost in the sea of content out there?
That's where the idea of curating your input comes in.
Okay.
There's a great quote in Tools of Titans. What you read is more important than what you write, at least in the beginning. It's about being intentional with what information you're taking in.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, it's so easy to get sucked into, like, endless scrolling online,
Oh, totally.
clicking every headline. And then you end up with a brain full of, like, random trivia.
Exactly.
But that's not real learning.
No. It's about shifting from passive consumption to active curation.
Oh, okay.
It's like you're building a deliberate diet for your mind. You choose the sources and experts that actually align with what you want to learn, not just whatever is the loudest.
So it's about quality over quantity.
Yeah, exactly. Like, think about it. It's like grabbing a handful of random snacks from a vending machine.
Versus, like, a home-cooked meal.
Yes. A nutritious meal. You've chosen the ingredients carefully.
You're fueling your mind with the good stuff.
Exactly. And just like with a healthy diet, this takes effort.
It does.
You have to develop that critical eye,
Question your sources.
Yeah, and make sure the information is, like, accurate, relevant, but most importantly, it aligns with your goals.
Okay, so we've tackled fear. We've found our Titan mentors. We're breaking down skills. We're curating what we take in. But what do we do with all this knowledge?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. How do we make it stick? Make it part of, like, who we are?
Well, true learning, it's not just about absorbing information.
Right.
It's about integrating it into your life, your work, everything.
So it's not enough to just read a book, take some notes, and then be like, okay, I'm done.
Nope.
Yeah, we have to actually use it.
Put it into practice, yeah. Think of it like a muscle.
Oh, okay.
You can read all about weightlifting, study the form, even picture yourself lifting. But those muscles, they aren't going to grow unless you actually hit the gym.
So how do we do that with knowledge? How do we, like, turn ideas into action?
Yeah, Ferriss emphasizes this a lot in the book, applying what you've learned. And even more than that, sharing it.
Sharing.
Yeah, there's a story about one of his guests. They didn't feel like they really understood something until they tried to explain it to someone else.
Oh, I totally get that.
Sure.
Sometimes I don't realize I don't know something until I try to explain it.
Exactly.
You have to think it through. Organize your thoughts.
Yeah, it's active recall, but like on steroids. Because when you try to teach something, you're not just passively remembering, you're engaging with it, testing yourself.
And it doesn't have to be, like, a formal lecture.
Right.
No.
No, not at all. Could just be chatting with a friend about something you learned or writing in a journal, just as long as you're going beyond just passively reading or listening.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And this ties back to the learning by doing thing. The more you apply something, the more it sticks.
Okay, so Tools of Titans has all these different techniques. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
No, definitely not. More like a buffet.
A buffet of learning. I like that. Yeah. And you get to pick and choose what works for you.
So it's about self-awareness.
Exactly. Some people are visual learners. Some like listening more. Some gotta get hands-on. So experiment.
Yeah, find what feels natural.
What feels good? What actually helps you learn?
Because learning shouldn't be a chore, right? It should be fun.
Absolutely. And the more you know about your own learning style, the better you can customize your approach.
You know, I'm really loving this deep dive. It's hard to pick a favorite technique so far, but that fear-setting exercise,
Yeah.
it's really speaking to me. I think I'm going to start using that. What about you? What's resonating most?
Well, I've always loved the idea of deconstructing skills. It just takes so much pressure off.
Right.
Like, you don't have to be perfect from day one. Just break those big, scary goals into smaller pieces.
Suddenly it doesn't feel so overwhelming.
Exactly. And remember, don't compare yourself to anyone else.
Yeah, that's a good reminder.
We all learn at different paces. What matters is that you celebrate those little victories along the way.
Absolutely. Enjoy the journey.
The journey, yeah. Because learning isn't just about checking boxes or getting to some level of expertise.
It's more than that.
It's about expanding your mind, discovering new things. It's about lifelong growth.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, but I don't want to leave our listeners just swimming in theories.
Right.
I want them to actually take action.
Of course.
So what's one small step they can take today to apply something we've talked about?
Well, if you're feeling stuck with a learning goal or intimidated, try that fear-setting exercise.
Grab a notebook.
Yeah, and just spend a few minutes with it. You might be surprised what you discover.
Or maybe there's a skill you've been wanting to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Pick one of your titans in that field and really dive into their work, figure out their habits, their go-to strategies, and see if you can apply even one of those.
The main thing is to take action, even if it's small.
Don't just let this information sit there.
Right. Turn it into experiments. Turn it into actions.
And hey, if you're feeling brave, share what you've learned with someone.
Ooh, yeah, I love that.
Teach a friend. Write about it.
Have a conversation about it.
You never know. You might learn even more by trying to explain it.
Absolutely. Knowledge is a gift,
Yeah.
and it multiplies when you share it.
It's easy to think, these high achievers, these titans,
Mm-hmm.
they're just wired differently.
Yeah, like they have some secret sauce.
Right. But what Tools of Titans really shows you,
Yeah.
it's not about some innate talent.
No, it's not about being born a genius or something.
Exactly. It's about mindset
Born strategy.
and really committing to growth.
That's the key.
And that's something anyone can learn.
Oh, absolutely. We all have that capacity to learn and grow,
Yeah.
expand our knowledge and skills.
Yeah, it's about figuring out the tools and strategies that work for you.
That's the key.
Because we've all had those times where we hit a wall.
Oh, yeah.
You're trying to learn something and you just feel stuck.
It can be so frustrating.
It is. But what these titans show us,
Mm-hmm.
those challenges, they're not roadblocks.
They're not the end of the road.
Right. They're opportunities.
These opportunities to grow.
Yeah, it's about embracing the whole process.
The good, the bad,
The stumbles,
the setbacks,
even the failures.
all of it. Those are all part of learning.
And honestly,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you learn more from those than from the successes.
So true.
So it's not about never making a mistake.
No, it's about not letting those mistakes paralyze you.
Yeah. It's about seeing them as feedback.
Yeah, adjust your approach, keep going.
And that's resilience, right?
That's it. The people who achieve great things, it's not that they never fail.
They just don't give up.
They get back up, they learn from it, they keep growing.
This deep dive has been a great reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Learning isn't a destination.
It's not about reaching the finish line.
It's a journey.
A lifelong journey.
And it's full of surprises and challenges.
And a lot of rewards along the way.
Totally. And the more we embrace that curiosity,
That thirst for knowledge,
the more we get out of life,
we unlock our potential.
the world is full of amazing things to learn.
It really is.
And the only limit is our own willingness to explore.
Well said. Couldn't agree more.
So to our listener out there,
Mm-hmm.
we hope this deep dive into the minds of these titans
And how they learned.
is giving you some inspiration.
Some tools for your own toolbox.
And that you feel empowered to take your own learning to the next level.
Because remember, you don't have to be a titan to learn, one.
It's true.
Start small, be consistent, stay curious.
Great advice. Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery.
Always a pleasure.
And until next time,
Keep learning.
keep those minds sharp and those learning fires burning.